You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, good to be back with you all again. You're listening to the Mighty Blue podcast, and this is episode 519 of the show. And today we're meeting two people who, in my own small way, I'm partnering with for 2026. They're Jesse Cody and Mike Rose. We had Jesse, or Boston Mule, on the show back in 2021 when he was part of the Youth Mental Health Project, raising awareness for that organisation by hiking and sharing his stories and the benefits of hiking on one's mental health. Now, and for the past few years, Jesse, along with Mike, has a new project and non-profit organisation called Hike the Good Hike. I'll let the two of them explain what this is about in the interview, but we met up again a couple of weeks ago as part of something you may have seen on Facebook, where Hike the Good Hike was partnering with companies like Z-Packs, Sawyer and Hoka, among others, to sponsor people who have the ambition but perhaps not the means to get out on trail. They were going to include me in that cohort, but I budgeted for what I needed, so I didn't actually need anything from them. But at the same time, I felt my podcast could help shine a spotlight on the work that they're doing, and I invited them on the show. There's more to it than that, of course, but that gives you a taste of what Hike the Good Hike is about, and we'll hear from the two of them in a moment. After Jesse and Mike, we meet Max Kiel from Hyperlite Mountain Gear, and Max will be talking me through 4 of HMG's backpacks, including my clear preference, the Unbound 55-litre pack. At the end of our chat, I'm ready to pull the trigger on my backpack. Then, to put a lid on the show, my accountability blog once more. This week, more gear has turned up, and more gear has been ordered, and I've even got some food for my initial part of the hike between Springer and Neil Gap. I want you to guess what I bought for breakfast. So let's get going and meet Jesse Cody and Mike Rose from Hike the Good Hike. Today, we've got a couple of fellas on the show, one of whom you've met before. This is Jesse Cody, who we have met before, and Mike Rose, who we're meeting for the first time. Hey, guys, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hello.
How we doing? Good to be back, Steve.
Pretty good. Yes, indeed. And we met you, Jesse, in 2021 when you were with the Youth Mental Health Project, and you were hiking yourself at the time, actually, I think. Mm-hmm. You're here today to talk about your new project, which is Hike the Good Hike. But before we get into that, share with us briefly a little about that previous project, because you've been involved in the mental health space, as it were, for some time. So just recap some of that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2021, really that involvement with the Youth Mental Health Project was kind of a way to see if I had the makings of my own organization, nonprofit. So I wanted to test the waters. So
Sure.
I partnered with Youth Mental Health Project to hike the last 1,300 miles of the Pacific Crest Trail to raise money for them and their program, which was geared towards helping youth who are struggling or challenged by mental health. It was a great partnership, and we ended up raising close to $30,000 for their
That's
organization.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so I came out of there thinking to myself, well, I think I do have the making of something here, and I can use hiking and storytelling and that combination to bring awareness to mental health challenges and specifically how nature can benefit those type of challenges. And from there, the next hike was to build a nonprofit, and that brings us here today.
So what do you think that taught you? Was it the hike that taught you, or was it an organization that taught you, or was it just you trying to look at what you were doing and developing in your mind that this was the way forward for you?
I think you could say the lessons came from everything that you mentioned, but ultimately what I always kind of believed was when I came off the Appalachian Trail in 2015, I understood that hiking really benefited the things that I was struggling with, but also the fact that storytelling got me to trail. We can start with Bryson's book, A Walk in the Woods, but more so
Sure.
all the blogs, the YouTube videos, all these things that I watched that I invested into lit a fire in me and inspired me. And so what I knew was I wanted to create something specifically in a platform that could tell my story, but also we could help people get on trail and tell their stories. Because the more stories you have with inspiration, the more people will come and listen. And what you hope is it lights a spark in somebody who doesn't know much about hiking in the same way it did for me in 2015. And we can help support that journey.
It was clear to me that you were a man with a fire inside you and a passion for the project. So, Mike, what about you? How did you meet up with Jesse, and why does this relate to how you feel about things?
Yeah, Jesse needed a little bit support back 2 to 3 years ago at this point, and reached out to a virtual assistant agency that I had worked for on like a contractor basis. And one thing led to another. I've been working with Jesse in small capacities for a while. I had a lot of experience in nonprofits. I had been an EA for a bunch of different executives at different levels in different industries. And I recognized the how special the mission was, how different the impact was. It was something I had not heard of yet. A mission, vision, values that I have not come across yet. And I remember sort of the Zoom meeting with Jesse where I sort of made the decision. I was like, do you really want to do this? Like, do this. Like, turn this from a concept idea to the full thing. Jesse was like, yeah. And then I locked in.
So you've been there ever since?
Yeah. It's been, one of these days I'll go back in the calendar and like find a start date, but it's been around 2.5 years. Couldn't tell you exactly how long though, but it's, yes.
And at this stage, I should probably let everybody know that the three of us came into contact a few weeks ago when I saw that companies like Z-Packs and several others were offering sponsorship for hikers doing a through hike in 2026, not necessarily the Appalachian Trail, but any hike. And they were doing this to support Hike the Good Hike. And I thought to myself, well, I need some new gear, so why not apply? But when I then heard from Jesse and Mike, I really wanted to become more involved in what they were doing. So I invited them onto the show and said that I'd interview each of the hikers they chose before they went out on their hike, then hopefully sometime during their hike, and then after they finished and seen what impacts being in the outdoors had happened. But it seems that Jesse and Mike had actually chosen me for the sponsorship, but I'd already gone ahead and bought a lot of my gear. Though I'm excited to be involved in some way with this, worthwhile and deeply meaningful organisation. So tell us then, what was the actual impetus for Hike the Good Hike? When did you actually pull the trigger, you guys, and say, this is now going to be an organisation? And what was the mission and what were the values of the organisation?
So the organization came into existence in early 2023.
Right.
Now, I'll be honest, I started a nonprofit, as Mike kind of alluded to, without any knowledge of how to run a nonprofit, the ins and outs of nonprofits. I just had a concept, and it was kind of a learn on the fly situation, to be honest with you. And certainly when that happens, there's a lot of mistakes, but certain things can kind of rise to the top that at least remind you that you're doing the right thing. And so when I created the organization, the first thing I did was I'm going to hike 5,000 miles for mental health awareness in 2023. In a way, it was a great idea.
5,000. Yeah. Yes, great idea on paper, not on your legs, though.
Not on my legs. And certainly it's challenging to try to run an organization when you're on trail for 8+ months of the year. But I kind of wanted to try to mimic what we did with the Youth Mental Health Project. There was some success, but also a lot of challenges within it. But again, when you talk about the visions and the mission, it really did come back to, as long as at the core, this organization is finding ways to tell stories and help people create their stories through nature, and obviously right now specifically hiking, then we can continue to move forward. And it's been a slow pace for some of the things that we've set out to do, but being able to launch this program, the hiker sponsorship program, I think is the biggest step that we've taken as an organization in the 2.5 years that we've been around. It really kind of gives us this place where we're essentially doing what we've set out to do, right? It's a small dose of hikers, but the vision of it and where we want to take it is honestly sky the limit. And if you look 5 years down the road and you have, 100, 150 stories from different people, just think about what that could do for not just the hiking community, but the mental health community.
I totally agree. In fact, funny enough, I wondered with this podcast, what I was doing with this podcast when I first started. Basically, I'd started it to sell my books. I'd read a chapter of my books at the end of each. Then I realized that everybody who hikes, literally everybody, has a separate story. And they all want to share those stories. And my job is always to bring those stories out. You had a story. Everybody has a story, and they're all different. We may all hike the same trail, but everybody hikes it in a different way, and everybody experiences it differently. So I think, you've got unlimited stories out there to capture and the benefits that people get from hiking. What are you looking to achieve with this partnership with gear companies? Is this to raise awareness or to get perhaps people who are unsure about backpacking out on trail and removing the cost obstacle from their decisions? What actually is it?
Mike, you should start with this one. You're good at this one.
Yeah, I think it's the purpose of the program is tiered, and that the number one priority is to get people hiking, is to get people outside, people that have an interest in bettering their mental health through participating in the outdoors to some extent. That's the number one. And anyone that had applied, that we interviewed, or is in the cohort this year, understands that all we care is that they get out and they hike and they take time for themselves to better their mental health. That is the goal. Second to that is that the people that are interested in storytelling, as Jesse has so well put, we are working to kind of give them the structure and the tools to be able to tell their story in a way to impact others, to show how their journey with the outdoors, whether they're brand new in this cohort, whether it's their first hike longer than a weekend, or someone that has done a longer hike before, giving them the opportunity to really showcase how outdoor wilderness immersion therapy, social prescribing has benefited their life in that moment. So then we can show our community, people that need to hear it, transparently donors who want like a proof of concept of outdoor wilderness immersion therapy and how beneficial it can be. That is ultimately the purpose of this program. And we can only see the sponsorship program becoming a cornerstone of Hike the Good Hike because it is exactly what the mission is.
And you talk about donors there. I mean, what do you say to donors? What's the pitch to donors? Are they already outdoorsy people, or are they? When you mentioned earlier before we started recording, you met some donors quite recently. What do you say to them? Do they know what you're talking about originally? You invite them to be in a group, or do you say to them, "I've got an idea we'd like to pitch to you guys," and they just come along and you share what the idea is, whoever they are?
Well, look, when you talk to donors, regardless of their experience in nature or not, everybody is fully aware of the struggles of mental health, not just in the U.S., but the world, right? I mean, we look at significant decrease in percentages of people who are struggling. And so when you can start with that, people listen because they know there's a problem and they know there's something needs to be done about it. And then you bring nature or hiking into the fold. And, some people know a lot about that. Some people know from afar about that. But it's our job to kind of bring this connection together between the two and say, here's the easy thing about it, Steve, is because I have a backstory. I can always start with a little bit of who I am, where I came from, how I found my way to trail and what it did for me. And then to be able to use that, talk about mental health challenges, talk about the benefits of nature, it all kind of plays together and it gets people intrigued. They want to hear more. I think one of the best tools that I have when talking about this stuff is essentially saying I went from no experience of hiking directly to the Appalachian Trail. The first night I ever slept in a tent was night one on the Appalachian Trail. And when I say that, people...
Me too, by the way.
See? People want more. Yeah. They want to hear more. Yeah. And so if you can kind of bring them into that conversation and then say, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give people these opportunities because we see the benefits that it has. They're listening. More cases than not, those people listening to us.
What's been really not surprising, but really lovely is how there has been little to no moments where we've had to convince people of the benefit of the outdoors with people's mental health. In fact, it's what has drawn people to us. It's what's drawn people to say yes to a Zoom call, to a phone call, to a dinner. Because when we say we're trying to create an avenue for people to participate in this type of activity to better their mental health, people are like, yes, this is what I've actually been looking for. We have doctors who are like, this is what I prescribe certain things like this, but there's no actual route for people to participate in it without having the money. I mean, the outdoors, it's no secret to anybody here, is incredibly inaccessible.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it's all around us, and yet all at the same time, completely inaccessible financially, in location, and also in information about how it can be so impactful to people's mental health. And that's why this program, it's why people are drawn to it. It's why donors want the Zoom call. It's why they want to hear more, just like Jesse said, is that it's something people know they've needed, but has not been offered.
Well, funnily enough, you've got the perfect people with this sponsorship project. You've got outdoor companies. So there's something in there. So how easy was it to put together a disparate group of companies, all with their own, I'm not saying egos, but all with their own ways of doing things and stuff, but they've all come together for this sponsorship project. By the way, can you name the companies that are involved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have Z-Packs, which obviously is one of the bigger ultralight backpacking companies in the country, if not the world. We have Sawyer coming on to help us with all the water needs. We have Hiker Hunger Outfitters, who's bringing on small things here and there and hiker poles. And then we have Hoka Shoes that are coming on to help us with shoes. So, I mean, there's some pretty big companies there that were glad to help us. And we're not going to stop. Even when the program launches, Mike and I are already saying, let's reload the guns. Let's go after some other companies and see how we can get either full support or either discount codes. I mean, there's the work never stops. You got to continue to try to bring others on. But as far as the ones that are already committed, these are relationships that were created years ago, right? Like you said, it always just starts with a phone call. Just trying to get in touch with the right person at each company. And I've been real fortunate to be able to get to some of those folks. You talk about Mateo over at Z-Packs. The first time Mateo and I met, we had a Zoom, and literally probably for 57 minutes, we just talked like two friends, never talking about Hike the Good Hike. And at the very end, he just said to me, so what do you guys need? We're here for you. And I love what he finished it off. And I asked him, I said, why are you willing to help? And he literally said, because I believe in good people who are doing good things. And I think that can,
how nice.
Yeah, that really can probably resonate throughout these companies that are helping, is that they see what we're doing, they see what we're trying to create and build, and they want to be part of it. And that's, whether that's companies or people who have applied for the program or people who aren't looking to be part of the program, just want to be part of Hike the Good community. I think that across the board is really what's helped us, is that we're just trying to do things and put things in place that can really help people.
And when we spoke before, when you were you said you're on the PCT. We were actually on the PCT when we spoke as well. Have you done a lot more hiking since 21? Because I know you said you wanted to, but I suppose running the organisation is more difficult to combine those things. Have you done much more?
Yeah. Like I said, I did do that 5,000 miles in 2023. And that was the Florida Trail and the Continental Divide Trail. When I finished the Continental Divide Trail, that gave me my triple crown. Yeah. So
that's right.
And I'm still out there. I'm part of some programs, Highlander Adventure, a company out of Croatia that comes over here and does a big event. And I'm always finding a way to trail. Mateo does all these kind of let's get together hikes that I love to take part of. So, and we just filmed a documentary, which was a hike. So
we're going to talk about that in a minute. And that sounds epic, by the way, because I warn you all, by the way, when Jesse came on, he was in tears still from having just seen the first rushes or the first cut of the film they've made. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Are you a hiker, Mike, by the way?
No, not at all. I grew up in suburban Philadelphia, so
that does not preclude you from hiking. You know that, don't you?
No, but I was a big camper growing up. I loved camping. We did it all the time. When I was a kid, I during the suburbs camped in the woods behind my house.
Right.
So I've always been a very, very outdoorsy person and have really lost that since I moved to New York in 2014. So about 11 years ago. And it is only obvious to think that I was so pulled by this mission, because I often say it's so hard to get to the outdoors from New York City, even though it's kind of not.
No.
Outside of the financial, it is actually very close. The AT is not that far.
That's right. And you can see the city from the AT as well. It's a great moment.
Yeah, and it's talking to Jesse over the years about giving people the opportunity and the resources to and the accountability to and the push to do these kind of hikes is like, well, I would have needed that. Like sure. That's what I would have gotten me to do it. And I think me living in a city context, I have a very specific point of view in the need for these kind of programs because I'm around people who are like, I'm stuck here, despite the fact that we're literally not.
So have either of you ever considered why the benefits are so positive in so many cases? I've rarely heard anybody say to me, this really screwed up my mind going on the AT. It's always made me feel better. So have you ever thought about why it might be that you get benefits from this, Jesse?
It's all I think about. So much so that I ended up, leaving the Boston area and moving out to New Mexico. And I found a place now where I live off grid in the middle of nowhere, just because I'm so connected to nature, the planet, the spirituality specifically out there is really just this overwhelming indigenous feeling of pure understanding of what the land can provide. What I think is important is the thing about nature, when you really get deep into it and you take some moments in solitude, there's no distraction and there's no way to not actually face yourself. You're kind of forced to do so. But the beauty is that you don't have all the usual noise all around you that we all are used to. We all, even though I live off grid, I spend a lot of time in downtown Santa Fe at coffee shops. There's always in quotation noise around you.
Yeah.
But in nature, you kind of get to put that noise behind you. And so it really does force you to kind of look at these thoughts that might be running through your head, things that you're struggling with, and find a more suitable place to confront them. And that's, there's so much more to it, but I think ultimately that's what I have found, that I can face these things that I struggle with, and I can actually put some work in to find a place where I'm at peace with those struggles. And I wouldn't always say put behind you because they'll resurface, but at least I have a place where I understand where I can confront them and deal with them.
It's funny. I think one of the things that I've realized over the years, it took me a long time to realize this, is that in the outdoors we have fewer options. And because we have so many options in our day-to-day life, I find myself flitting from one thing to another, to another, to another. I can't read a book for more than 5 minutes without looking around and see what I'm going to do next. So and my skill of reading a book, which I used to be a voracious reader. I don't read as much as I used to because there's so many other things to do. Outside, when I'm walking on trail, I've got my own thoughts in my head and I'm very comfortable just walking along with no earplugs in, just hearing the sounds of nature and enjoying that part of it with no options. And, I think that's something that I value every time I go this, and I'm valuing for next year as well. So the people you've chosen, I'm going to be interviewing them all, hopefully, before I set out. Can you give us an idea of their level of experience as they prepare for their 2026 hikes? And what would you say their main concerns are, as far as you know?
Yeah, I can give some background on this. So we have a really nice range of what their hiking goals are and what their backgrounds are. Right. I'll say pretty much nobody is like a triple. We don't have any triple crowners, right? Like I don't believe we have anybody that has completed one of the big three. We do have a range of people who have only hiked a weekend. We have a range of people that have maybe only hiked a month. So that is a commonality between everyone, that they have some level of experience. Sure. But they're doing something bigger that they haven't done before. I'd say the biggest jump we have is somebody who has barely no hiking experience and is planning to do the entire AT, I believe.
Wow. Wow.
Which is very apropos for the two people I'm talking about.
Yes, a bit like Jesse and me. Yeah. So having spoken to them, because you went through that process with me as well, but you went through the process with each of them, and what were you hearing from them that made you think this would be a good person to get involved? Was it the stories as much as anything else?
Yeah, I think it was lived experience and interest in knowing more about their lived experience. But above that, it was a plan. I'm something I love about working with Jesse is we are just so far separated brain-wise. We just think about very different things, which is perfect. I'm very logistically minded.
And which means Jesse's not, I presume.
Which is needed, or else I'm gonna keep us in a box. I need somebody to,
run wild.
Let me live a little bit. But it was good for me to hear people, even if they weren't sure how or what they were doing, they had a clear vision for what they wanted to do. I would love to do this hike around this time for this purpose. I'm interested in exploring this part of myself and possibly sharing this part with the world or my community, etc. It was totally fine when people came to us saying, I have 2 hikes, but I'm not sure. It might be June, it might be August because I have kids.
Right, yeah.
That was more than fine.
Sure.
But people that showed up and really had a plan and like a drive to do it was number one. And then second was, the interest in knowing more about the lived experience. But I'll pass to Jesse, because I think Jesse also has, having so much hiking experience, a really interesting perspective on looking at new hikers, because he was one.
What I'll say that really, a couple of things that stood out to me was the authenticity of these people were incredible, Steve. Just people truly opening up to us and telling us things that took a lot of courage. I remember actually saying to someone, it takes a lot of courage for you to say what you just said, even to just Mike and I. That's such a big step for you in the right direction. And so there was so much authenticity throughout those that we picked. But also really something that came across that was unexpected is, yes, there are people in the program that certainly need some help with gear and the financials. But a lot of them also talked about the fact that there was something deeper to being part of this, that they wanted to be part of Hike the Good Hike. They wanted to be part of the community. They wanted to be in a place where they felt accepted for whatever it is they're challenged by and why they want to get on trail. And they felt that this place was the right place for them. And Mike and I, that blew us away. We had people that came to us like, I don't need any gear. I just want to be part of this. And to me, that is essentially what we want, right? Is we want people to come to a place where they feel like they need that place and they feel like they belong in that place. And so when you talk about it, the authenticity and then just that overwhelming feeling of people just wanting to be part of this, that stood out. That made it a no-brainer for us.
Mm-hmm.
So have you, to give us the idea of the range of heights, you said somebody wants to do the full AT. Obviously, I want to do that as well. What other hikes are people talking about?
Yeah, we got somebody doing the entire AT, someone trying to do the entire PCT. I think we got 2 to 3 people gunning for the Colorado Trail.
Nice.
We got somebody trying to do an FKT for the
Superior.
The Superior, the JMT. Someone's trying to do. Yeah, those are the range that we're looking at.
That is awesome. I mean, by the way, I haven't asked you this, and I might have to cut this out, but have they agreed to talk to me and be interviewed by me or not? Have you asked them?
They're aware.
Oh,
They're
right.
aware. I need to get people scheduled and whatnot.
Okay.
But a lot of people are very, very excited about it.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Cool. That could have gone badly wrong. And I know you've got great hopes for this as a successful yearly project. Probably, what would constitute success this year in your minds? Because you have to have not so much. You have to have a goal. It will unfold as it unfolds, and they'll either all finish, or none of them will finish, or they might all hate it and they might all love it. So, what would you see as a success this year?
Well, I mean, we do want to start off by saying that we hope each hiker does find something successful that comes from this, right? For them. And it doesn't,
it doesn't need to be the completion of the hike either, does it?
100%, right? And we're very clear about that. If you get into this hike and you get to a point that you're feeling like you can't move forward, but you're worried about how that affects Hike the Good Hike, we don't want that, right? Because there is an absolute lesson and beauty to not finishing as well. There's you can pull from everything no matter what happens out there. Yeah. The fact that you're just out there giving this a go is an accomplishment. We know that, right?
I agree.
So
yeah, definitely.
We want success for them. We want them to come out of this feeling good about what they attempted, what they succeeded at, what they learned from it, if they plan to go back and try that hike again or something else. Like ultimately, we want them to come out and be like, this bettered my life. This has given me some tools that I can use to move forward. Definitely want to talk about what those tools are and how they have helped, with mental health challenges that they're facing. So that's the first thing for us, for success for the organization. I mean, Mike and I could probably talk about this for days. It'll always come back to the storytelling, and we're really lucky to have 7 people who have all different ways of how they want to tell their story. And so,
nice.
It's the first kickoff of being able to have more than this Jesse story. We do have a couple more blog pieces on the website, but we want a lot more. So we want these stories, and we want to be able to tell them in all our means. And, bigger success, there's a lot of things that we could talk about. Maybe Mike has something to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, as I've been catching up with our hikers post-application process, the thing that I keep telling everybody is that success looks like hiking in 2026, to whatever capacity that looks like. Your plan is to do the entirety of the PCT, and you do a quarter of it, successful. You hiked. That is the point of Hike the Good Hike, is to get you out, to take time for yourself, to better yourself through nature, and you did that. And if your goal is to do the entirety of the PCT, we're going to support you as much as possible to be able to do that if it's in your best interest. And if at any point in the hike it feels like that's not in your best interest, we will support you not doing it too.
Yeah.
Right. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Now, would it be the most amazing thing in the world if someone out there who wants to do the entire AT, does the whole thing, records the entire journey, and we just have this amazing story to tell? Sure, that would be really cool. Yeah. But I think for us as people who are running the organization, we stand very firmly in the purpose of the program, which is to get people hiking. Nice. And if that happens, then we're good.
So I can't ignore the fact that you were nearly in tears when we first started this interview, Jesse. So because you'd just seen something. Tell us about L2H.
Well, we just came off of filming our first full-length documentary, as you said, L2H, which stands for lowest to highest. And that's a trail in California that's hiked from Badwater Basin in Death Valley, which is roughly 250 feet below sea level, the lowest point in the lower 48s. And it's about a 150-mile trek across Death Valley into the Sierras up to the peak of Mount Whitney, which is the highest point in the lower 48s. The documentary itself is on 5 of us who have taken on the trek together, and that's including the filmmakers Andy Lobb and Titian Leroux, 2 exceptional outdoor filmmakers, decorated filmmakers. And what the film is it's to really be a character study on people taking on such a challenging journey, but also open up about their mental health journeys that they've had prior to this hike.
Wow.
What came out of it is a lot more than that. And I don't want to give too much away. But certainly like a lot of things came up in the moment that really, I think, showcases the struggles that people go through, right? And that I think ultimately what you'll see is a lot of people, even if they haven't hiked, will be able to resonate with a film like this, because not everything's a victory. Sometimes you have to face things and what you hope was to come doesn't come. That's all I'll say on that. But it really does show what these people, what myself and the others in the film go through, how, in a small amount of time, personalities can clash, nature can get the best of you and beyond. Oh, sure. And so it's really just this beautiful film that is really raw, really authentic, which we've talked about and I think is very important for our organization. And so why you caught me in tears is because Andy had just sent me the very first preview of the film, which is only a month after we finished filming. And we got a long way to go before the movie is out.
Impressive.
But those guys wanted me to have something in place to show to donors and beyond to get people really excited. This film is going to be an incredible asset to the organization. It's going to be our beacon. It's going to be something that hopefully will be out to the world throughout, and people will see it. And people will be drawn to it, and they'll want to know more about Hike the Good Hike. So it's a way to really pull people in, get an understanding of who we are. And this film embodies the vision and mission of Hike the Good Hike. So we're really hoping the buzz is loud and for a long time.
Just to get, when you cast your mind back to that, when you're climbing up Whitney, I don't, and maybe we went from a different direction. Maybe you did actually. I went from the lake down the bottom. I can't remember what it's called now. The Guitar Lake. I'm not terribly sure.
PCT
and
way.
you come to the you come to the bit the where you turn off to Whitney Portal, and it says 1.9 miles to the top of Mount Whitney, which is the longest 1.9 miles I've ever done in my life. You see, like 19 miles. It just goes on and on, doesn't it?
99 switchbacks, buddy. 99 switchbacks.
Oh, it is tough, isn't it?
It's tough.
So what was it like to stand at the top there?
Well, let's just say, oh boy, how do you put this? You know, I'm not going to tell you as much as like I want to tell you, because it will give the film away.
Okay.
But what I will tell you is there was a moment amongst the group that we truly, truly saw how much we had come together, how much we made decisions together, and how important it was that if anybody at any time felt like they needed a break, they needed to vent, they needed to cry, they needed to celebrate, regardless of what that looked like, we always did it together. And this film, from beginning to end, for all we went through, all the challenges, there's never a moment where we didn't do it together. And we, by the end, we really, really owned that as a group.
That's that. You know, having done a 75-mile hike across to Whitney myself as a group. I'd never done a group hike before. It is a wonderful bonding experience. And we played this game every night called Thorns and Roses, where you all sit around the fire and you say, did you get a thorn today or did you get a rose today? And at the beginning of the week, it was all thorns. God, my feet hurt. You know, it was, this was terrible, this was terrible. But after 3 or 4 days, people started getting more roses. And at the last 2 days, we all had just roses. You know, it was all good stuff. And it became more positive as the group gelled together. So I entirely understand what you're talking about. So if people want to find out more about Hike the Good Hike or donate to your organisation, where should they go then, guys?
HikeTheGoodHike.org. There's probably going to be a link in the show notes, I imagine.
There will, yeah. As long as you share it with me, I know where it is actually. Yeah, so it's fine. I can do it. But okay, well look, I'm excited to be part of this. I'm really excited to meet some of these people, and the sooner before they start we can. And when I'm out there, I'll be making an effort every week to try to get, well, not every week, but every halfway through their hikes, I'll try to get a schedule of where they are and find out where they are, and I'll reach out to them and I'll include that conversation within that week's podcast as well, so they can get up to date with how they're feeling and how it's going for them as well. But so I really appreciate you involving me in this and letting me do this, and I look forward to getting your list of hikers, and I just wish you well with the organisation. And you and I, all three of us, will get together at the end of my hike again, and we'll talk about how it's gone this last year, okay, as a review next year. All right?
Hey, Mighty Blue, can I just finish by saying one thing, please?
Of course.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you because, you're a person that long before I met you, I was listening to, a big fan of the podcast. And then I was lucky enough to be a guest on your podcast in 2021. And, like Mateo at ZPAX and the folks over at Hoker and beyond, to kind of go from this place where I was a fan from afar from so many people to now have these people part of this organization and community we're building.
Sure.
It's always seems like these pinch me moments, dreams come true. And so I just want to thank you for the effort you're making and how you feel like you want to be involved and you're excited to be involved. That really means a lot to me and Mike as well.
Very nice of you to say so. You didn't. I didn't ask you to say that. So as soon as I started speaking with you guys, I thought this is something I wanted to get involved in, and I just hope it goes well for everybody this year. And you're right, the success is not defined by standing on the brown side of Katahdin. It's actually going underneath the archway and getting started on your hike. That's the success, and it's from then on. You just see how far that success will take you. Okay, guys. Well, good talk to you, and we'll speak again soon. Okay.
Thanks, bud.
Cheers then.
Good seeing you.
Bye. I'm only on one non-profit board and that will remain, but there is something about this organisation that really speaks to me. I'm sure that mental health manifests itself so differently in each and every one of us. For me, all I know is that I feel better on trail than almost anywhere these days. I mean, I love my home, my partner Dana, and the life that we have, yet the trail is where I feel truly at home. From somebody who had never hiked a step until his 62nd year, that is quite a transformation, and I know the benefits of being on a trail for your mental health and overall happiness. As we said, I'll be interviewing most, hopefully all, of the 2026 cohort, as the guys called the group, in the coming weeks. We'll find out why they're out there, one or two of the struggles they're facing, as well as what they expect from their hikes. I've seen pictures and a few words from each of them, so I'm excited about the prospect of bringing their stories to the podcast. It's going to be a bit of a push to get interviews with them while I'm out on trail, but I'm going to make it work and we can track their progress. I hope you're as eager as I am about this extra part of the podcast. I'll have links in the show notes where you can find out more about Hike the Good Hike, and I urge you to do so. Thanks, as ever, goes to our donors. This week, recurring donors Lisa Rana, Brian Helton Jr., Woody Bass and Natisha Webb stepped up once more, while our Buy Me a Coffee membership expanded by one, as Alan Troy converted his donation into membership this week. I know that for many of you, paying for a podcast, or at least supporting a podcast financially, is absolutely anathema to you. I want you all to know, though, that last month was the first month I've ever gone over $1,000 for the month, what with our donors, our members and supporters from Buy Me a Coffee, and those extra ads you have to put up with partway through the shows, which I added earlier this year. But they all added up last month to just over $1,000 for the first time, and I've been doing this for 9 years. So I'm not getting rich on it, and if you're enjoying what I put out each week, please consider joining as a member and getting some pretty cool benefits in appreciation of that support. Go to buymeacoffee.com/mightyblue and you can sign up there. Now, I want you to meet Max Kiel from Hyperlite Mountain Gear as he makes up my mind on the pack I want for next year. Here's Max. We're on now with Max Kiel from Hyperlite Mountain Gear. Hey, Max, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And you are, I believe, the customer experience manager. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm one of two customer service managers at Hyperlite. So
right.
A small team. So we got two of us on the team. Yeah, I've been with Hyperlite for a little over 3 years now.
Oh, nice.
Crazy
nice.
to think about. But
yeah, well, you know, it's when you get into a job you enjoy, you stay there. So it's a good thing. As a potential customer, my listeners know that I'm very hot on Hyperlite Mountain Gear right now, and I want a pack. But looking through your packs, they all seem to serve similar functions. And the ones we're going to talk about today are the Southwest, the Junction, the Wind Rider, and the Unbound, which is the one that many of my listeners suggested to me. And the Southwest Junction and Wind Rider, you've called them backpacking / through hiking packs, but you've called the Unbound a long distance hiking pack. Can you tell me that basic difference, why you would define the first three as one thing and the second one as another?
Sure. And that's a great question. It's definitely a common question to get. I think I can just start off and explain that ultimately any of these packs would get the job done for you, and they will.
Right.
You will find any of these packs on the Appalachian Trail this year. You will find all four of them on the Appalachian Trail. You'll find them on the Pacific Crest Trail. You'll find them on the Continental Divide Trail. You'll find them all over the world for a wide variety of activities, not just through hiking. I will say the Southwest Junction Wind Rider packs will be used for a lot of other activities other than just through hiking. We think of it as, people like to use it for pack rafting, canoe camping, other general miscellaneous adventures, urban adventure. It has features that make it a little bit more versatile to be better suited for a wide variety of activities in addition to just through hiking. The Unbound backpack, meanwhile, was designed specifically with long distance backpacking and through hiking in mind. So the Southwest Junction Wind Rider were in the lineup longer than the Unbound. The Unbound is a newer model released in about, I want to say 2022 was when it was released.
So what are you trying to achieve? What were you trying to achieve with that pack that the others maybe didn't have?
Yeah, great question. We at Hyperlite love to hear feedback from users, and we are always open to feedback, suggestions, input. That's how we get better, and how we design our gear is based really closely on designer input based on feedback from the users. So
sure.
A lot of comments and hey, with the Southwest backpack, I'd love to see it have larger side pockets that would be easier access to water bottles in the side or other gear in the side. Or I'd love to see a bottom pocket in the Southwest. So we essentially took a lot of the feedback, complaints, if you put it that way, just, things that people love to see on a pack that's going to be a little bit better suited for long distance hiking.
Right.
And that's where the Unbound comes in. Most notably, it has some updated features. So it's very similar in feature and design, but has some little differences, which my personal experience with using both of these packs for long distance hiking can definitely make a little bit of a difference for long distance backpacking specifically. Mostly, I would say it's accessibility to gear externally. So one of the biggest updates is larger side pockets that are cinchable.
I agree. And you know what? That's one of the things I really would want. And that's really drawing me to it straight away.
Yeah, that's my favorite feature for sure. Just for context, I through hiked the Appalachian Trail in 21 myself with the Southwest pack.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely. I still have the same Southwest pack right now. It's in my gear closet still to this day. Over 3,000 miles on it, still in great shape.
Right.
I hiked the John Muir Trail in 2023, and I went with the Unbound pack. And I really found those updated features to be really handy for me personally.
Right.
At the end of the day, I will say too, it's definitely going to be about personal preference about which features you think would be better suited for you personally.
So does the Unbound lose any of the features of the Southwest Junction or the Windrider?
No, definitely doesn't lose anything. They will have the same load bearer capacities. The only difference is that, let's say, for example, the Southwest and Windrider are available at a 70-liter option, while the Unbound is available in 40 and 55 liters. Not a 70-liter option. So it's a little bit more, doesn't have the 70-liter option for some people might want, but typically I'm not sure what volume you want or what volume you use, but mostly you won't see 70-liter packs on the AT.
No.
You will at the beginning. Some people will definitely come with the, but then they will learn that they don't need packs that big, or maybe the more experienced hikers won't have packs. Nowadays you see people with 35-liter backpacks, which we also have as well too. The more dialed packs, the Waypoint, or even our fully frameless backpack like the Contour. But the Unbound Southwest Junction Windrider definitely fit the mold for your any-day hiker, whether you're an experienced veteran thru hiker or it's your first time getting on the trail.
Okay, well, that's helpful, and I think so. The main difference is the oversized pockets. Are there any other features that came new with the Unbound?
Yeah, absolutely. The Unbound also has a removable hip belt, which is a nice feature where users can swap sizes on the hip belt. It's not too common. I will say that our hip belts on all of our packs have a wide adjustment range, going from 28 inches up to 50 inches. So they're designed right off the bat to fit in most ways.
Right.
But you've seen on the AT, this is your third hike. People will lose a lot of weight in the AT, which is amazing. They hop on the AT diet and they might lose 40, 50 pounds. So then
I lost 60 first time. 60 first time, 50 second time. Yeah, I put it on, but I put it on with interest. So I expect to lose a lot more this time. And actually, the pack sizing is a thing that's actually put me off. Not put me off, but has made me hold over until I spoke to you about this. When I got when I went for my 2019 hike, I got a Z-Pack's Art Blast, which was a great pack. Really enjoyed it. It's now worn out, so I feel I need something new anyway. And I went to Z-Pack's factory, which is on the other side of the state in Florida to me, and they measured me, and I'm a big guy, and I naturally assumed I would get large. But no, I was a medium frame. Now, I'm kind of surprised at that. So I looked at your pack sizing overview, and it talks about the torso size, which is, now correct me if I'm wrong, leaning your head forward, you touch the bone that protrudes there, and then down to the kind of the girdle or something, the bone that goes around your middle. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
That makes me large, or even extra large. It makes me 21 inches. I think it was 21 and a half inches. Have you checked the differences between yours and other size packs?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I will attest to our packs in that the torso length is definitely a very pivotal factor in which size pack you select. So you measure from your C7 vertebra, which is the bumpy bone at the back of your neck there, down to your iliac crest, which is the very top of your side hip bone, the bumpy on the side there. That measurement right there will be the sole decider of which torso size pack you should select. So we do offer packs in small, medium, large, and tall. So 21 inches is what you have. Is that correct? 21 and a half?
21 and a half.
Great. Yeah. So that would put you, based on our sizing guide, into a tall size.
Okay.
And so it can be confusing. People are like, oh, but I'm X height. Should I get this size pack? It's like, no, it's cool. I have a friend who's 5'9", 5'10", and he's a small size pack of ours. So, people have the long legs and short torsos, or vice versa. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So, I suppose my other question is, because I can't come into your factory to try it on, because I live in Florida. So you're in Maine or something?
That's correct. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Hyperlite offices are based in southern Maine.
I can't go all the way up there. I mean, are you available in shops? I haven't been checked in shops yet at all.
Yeah, we are available in retail stores. The biggest stores will be REI. So customers do have the ability to stop in REI and do some pack fittings there. And in addition to abundance of retail stores all along the AT, you'll see like a lot of outfitters all along the AT.
Right. In that case, I probably will try it on first then. But
sure.
we'll come back to that in a minute. So the other thing I looked at, in fact, I spoke to someone who said you should check out the pods that they have and the other accessories. And they're fascinating. So the idea of the pods is for the base of the footprint of the pod is to take up the effective internal footprint of the pack, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It'll be a little bit different with the Unbound. So the Unbound doesn't quite have the same exact V-shaped configuration as the Southwest Junction and Wind Rider.
Okay.
Let me pull that up. Yeah. So the pods will definitely be a great fit for the Unbound, and the idea of the pods is that they will be designed to take up the interior space of the pack. So the pods serve great dual functionality.
Right.
They offer internal organization for your gear. It's really nice to have some gear inside one stuff sack where it is. So for example, my clothes would be in this one pod, and then my cooking water would be in this other pod. Instead of, nowadays people really like pack liners, which is great as well too. They have one individual pack liner.
Yeah.
The pods really keep things organized and tidy, and you don't have any extra space in the pack, in addition to the water protection they get with the pods. So your important gear you want to ensure remain protected from the elements, because the AT gets a lot of rain, of course.
Of course, yeah.
You want to back up your important gear inside our pods, stuff sacks, to ensure that all of your important gear remain dry. Our backpacks, of course, are highly water resistant. Dyneema is a waterproof fabric.
Sure.
But with that being said, the backpacks are water resistant.
But I've already got an internal compactor sack to put in there anyway, which I would always do.
Awesome.
I always do anyway. But your pods, so I have to order different sizes of pod relative to what size I want, but I don't even know what's going to be in there yet. So I might order a few. Once again, I might see them in REI as well, actually. I might order a few and see what different sizes. But they're the same colour, aren't they?
Yeah, all of the pods are going to be in the gray color.
Should have done them in different colours. You missed a trick there. I want my blue one for my clothes, my green one for that. That would have been interesting.
That would have been nice.
And what about other accessories? You've got a phone. I don't know why this is not video. I'm talking to you face to face. You've got this phone thing that attaches onto your strap. Is that right?
Yeah, we have backpack attachment accessories, which are really popular pairings. The shoulder pocket is what you're referring to. So the shoulder pocket will attach to the daisy chain loops on the shoulder straps of the packs. The shoulder pocket is available in black and white, so you do get a little color preference there.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it can fit almost any cell phone on the market with their case. I like to use mine for other, not just your phone as well too. I keep my bars. When I like to hike, I like to have all my snacks readily available.
Sure.
I don't like to stop a whole lot, and especially if you're on the AT and trying to cover a lot of miles. Yeah. I'll keep my sunglasses in there, chapsticks, headphones, snacks. So there's a little pocket. There's the main internal pocket, and there's a little mesh pocket on the outside as well too for additional storage.
Well, look, we're actually recording today on Monday, the 1st of December, and I know you're 15% off runs out. So I'm going to order from you guys directly, but I want that 15% off if I'm going to get to REI this afternoon or maybe tomorrow. Can I still get my 15% off?
Yeah. So our annual Black Friday Cyber Monday sale does expire today, but I would be happy to help you out, Stephen. If it's a matter of making sure that you get the pack in time, we can help out. I think we can make something work.
And one last question about that, actually. If I get the tall pack and I just feel it isn't right, can I change it out before I go? Because I'm not going to March the 10th anyway. So.
Yeah, that's a great question. We definitely want to make sure at the end of the day you have the best fitting pack for you. And we want to work with you to make sure that's happened. So what I can recommend is once you get the pack, you're going to go home, you're going to put your gear in it, just like how you would a normal kit.
Sure.
You don't have to do all of it and then try it on. Walk around the indoor of your house, make sure it fits right, make sure it's comfortable, make sure the shoulder straps are sitting properly. You're going to want them to be, flat and perpendicular on the top of your shoulders. That's where it's a little bit different than other backpacks. With other backpacks, you see the shoulder straps will be curving down, wrapping around your shoulder. That's not something you want with our packs. Ideally, you want them to be sitting flat. So
all right, I'll
check that out. Make sure it's comfortable. And if the event, Max, I think maybe I measured my torso wrong, or maybe I think I might want a little bit of a smaller pack. I think I like a little bit more slender fit. Then, as long as it's going to be able to be, if you haven't used it on the AT the entire hike, and then at the end you're like, Max, I think I want to go to the large instead.
Yeah.
But testing out indoors, we can absolutely make sure you have the best pack.
There is one last question actually, which is, but the color, they can come in all black or black and white. I would have thought you get pretty dirty I know you get pretty dirty on a trail because I got filthy on a trail. So how does the white hold up as white, or you just rinse it off every now? Because it looks great like that, I must admit, the white.
Yeah, it's a great question. The white, there's not a lot of white packs in the market to begin with, so people love that. They're really cool. I don't have a preference in one or the other. We'll say that the white packs will definitely look used, but people take great pride in that. People love showing off how many miles they've hiked with the white packs. Like look how dirty and used my pack looks. I just finished the AT, and they love showing that off. So the white packs will look used. I'm not gonna lie to you. But of course, they can easily be cleaned. You can wash them in the tub. You can hand scrub them.
Sure.
Very gently wash it in the machine with removing the stays. They can be cleaned. Won't say that they'll look as good as new before, but something to keep in mind as well too. And the for the Unbound pack as well too, to keep in mind, the black fabric on the Unbound pack is a little bit of a thicker fabric than the white fabric on the Unbound as well too.
Oh,
so
is
that's
it?
something to keep in mind. It
really?
is, yeah. So they're both made with Dyneema composite hybrids. Right. So the fabric on the black Unbound is going to be a bit thicker. That's why I noticed there's a little bit of a difference in the price point.
What does thicker lead to? Does it lead to stronger, and does it lead to more protection?
Ultimately, I would say it would lead to more abrasion resistance. The fabric is going to be heavier just by, very slightly, by maybe about an ounce or two. It will offer a little bit more abrasion resistance. But, I will say that the white fabric is plenty durable and abrasion resistant enough for on-trail backpacking. People, at the end of the day, what I can recommend is just to choose your color based on aesthetic preference, whether you like the look of the black or you like the look of the white.
Yeah.
That's just another, we don't need to touch too much. I don't want to take up much of your time. I don't know if there's any really big gear nerds out there listening. We want to get too techy.
But there's plenty of gear nerds listening.
I'm sure there are. Yeah, absolutely. As am I. But, another big difference between the Unbound and the Southwest Junction Rider is the Dyneema fabric. So the Southwest Junction Windrider actually features an updated Dyneema fabric, which won't be found on the Unbound.
Right.
It's a little bit of it's more abrasion resistant entirely. So, the Unbound has a fabric made with a Dyneema and polyester film, so it's the same composite hybrid fused together. Meanwhile, the new fabric on the Southwest Junction Windrider is, it's just purely woven Dyneema composite.
Right.
Fabric.
Okay.
So that will make it more abrasion resistant and actually makes it a little bit lighter. So this is just a brand new fabric that we've been working with Dyneema for a long time, and we've been able to unveil it on our packs. We released those back in July. So something to keep in mind as well too. Sure. It sounds like you're really into the features on the Unbound.
I am.
The Unbound has,
me too. I think the side pockets are a game changer for me from the point of view of how much access I always need for those side pockets, and the fact that you can cinch them as well makes a big difference, especially to put my my cookware in there as well. I'll keep everything safe in there. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's the bottom pocket, and then there's a dual entry stretch mesh pocket on the center of the pack body as well too. So you can actually access the pocket on the outside both ways. You can reach into the top, you can reach into the middle. So I might have for example, in my Unbound, I'll put my tent stakes at the bottom of that central pocket. Sure. And put my rain jacket through there, so you can access it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, you when you do throw hike, you learn where everything is very quickly, don't you? Once you've got them in the right place, it's much more easy to access them from different points. So I think that's a useful thing for me as well. But I think the Unbound is going to be the answer. So I need to get my arse to REI as soon as possible. It's not very fair to REI because I'm still going to buy from you guys from your website. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with me because it's helped me make up my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a great chat with you. And if you have any other questions about the Unbound or any other packs along the way, we'd love to hear from you. And Yeah. So are you going to be releasing weekly episodes with the AT coming up?
I'm going to do twice a week, actually. Yeah.
Twice a week.
Yeah. So I'll tell you you'll hear how it's going, I tell you.
Yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely. Well, please give all the feedback. We definitely love hearing all the feedback, the good and the bad.
Okay, man.
Because hearing some ways that we can improve the packs is how we improve as a brand. So
I appreciate that.
Hearing all of it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay.
Do you have a start date yet?
Yeah, 10th of March. Yeah.
March.
So I've registered and I'm ready to go 10th of March, and I'm on a 4-month training plan. I'm a month into it already, awesome. and that's helping me out. So that's all good. All right, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, good to talk to you. And I will report back. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks
absolutely.
a lot, man.
Well, best of luck out there and happy travels. Enjoy.
Cheers, then. Bye.
Bye now.
It wasn't quite as fixed as it may seem. I mean, I really wanted him to tell me about the other packs, but just like the Durston tent last week, the Unbound was definitely calling my name. The YouTube reviews, along with many of you pointing me in that direction, had kind of made up my mind, and Max just reinforced that for me. When it turns up, I'll tell you more about it. Finally today, another accountability blog. I've got to say, having to write and record this each week allows me to focus on what it is that I've actually achieved in the previous 7 days. So it's helping that focus every Wednesday as I get on my keyboard to bring you up to date. Here's this week's entry. Hey guys, back with the accountability blog and an update on where I am with my preparation for my through hike this coming March. I told you last week that I'd tweaked my hamstring and that I expected to be back at the gym last Thursday. Well, I woke up and still felt the hamstring, so I put it back a day. Friday, I still felt it and decided to give it the weekend to get it fully healed. So I'd gone an entire week, well, almost, as I'd trained tentatively with Luis last Monday. Anyway, I got out of bed this Monday and it felt fine. Luis had to postpone this week's session together, so I got on with some cardio and it was great. I kind of felt it, but it didn't give me any problems, and I did a full session of cardio as per my plan. Then Tuesday, I gave it the acid test and exercised the lower body with glutes, quads, calves and hamstrings being tested. I came through it well and feel ready to go ahead now full bore. I still couldn't see Luis on the Wednesday, which is today as I'm recording. He still wasn't feeling well, so I did some upper body work and will hopefully be seeing him tomorrow or Thursday. As I said last week, I don't feel as if I've lost enough weight, but I know that my feeling of well-being is definitely enhanced by working out. When I wasn't working out last week, I was a bit moody and I couldn't wait to get back to the gym. I've never said that in my life. The week that I missed was supposed to entail extra weights as we moved into month 2 of the preparation, and I've added some weight to my routines this week, though probably not as much as I should have. I'm sure a session with Luis will put me in the right direction when I see him tomorrow, but all in all, I feel back on track. Now to the gear. As you heard last week when Dan Durston was on the show, I ordered my Durston X-Dome 2. It arrived on Tuesday. Guess what the first thing I noticed was? It was the smell. It smelled new, unlike my Z-Packs, which has a very funky, well-used smell. However, I guess that by the time I get out of Georgia next March, I'll have a similar smell in my Durston. Our backyard was wet, so I set it up on the concrete lanai at the back of my house. At least I got a flat surface. I am not ashamed to tell you, although I should be, that I had no idea what I was doing. So after a few botched attempts, I went inside, put on YouTube, and watched Dan set it up himself. Duh. The way he did it was effortless, but then I guess he must have done it at least 500 times since he invented it. I went out onto the lanai and followed his instructions. The first thing I noticed was how vast the carbon pole support system is when it's fully opened up. I'm a little concerned I won't have enough room anywhere on the AT to open it fully. However, once I laid out the tent, it was incredibly easy to set up. I put up the fly first, then scrambled inside and put up the inner tent very quickly by attaching it to the fly. All the connections seem very well made, and once you get inside this tent, it feels like it's twice the size of the interior of my old tent. And for that, I'm very happy. I do like a bit of comfort, and you can really spread out in this tent. There's even a corner-to-corner setup where you could put your pad and have plenty of room either end of your pad, while the nearly straight walls don't feel like they're in your way at all. There were times when I woke up in my duplex and my head or feet were touching the tent walls. There isn't too much of an issue if there's no condensation. But man, once that condensation rolls in, it kind of gets everywhere. By the way, none of this is to say that I didn't love my Z-Packs. I really did. But I needed something new for this year, and Durston took my eye. And, well, once that happens, it's all over bar the shouting. Back in my lanai, I didn't actually put the ground sheet down, but I can see exactly how to put it down now, and I think I may attach some coloured ribbons or something like that to each of the corners so that I know what goes where. Taking it down again was simple, and in fact I've packed up the fly attached to the inner tent for ease of setup in the future. I probably will set it up in the back garden in the coming weeks just to try it out for a night, but I'm already excited about the prospect of using it on the AT. Now, you've just heard Max from Hyperlite Mountain Gear talking me through the unbound backpack, and much like Dan last week, Max was really there to confirm what I hoped he would confirm. I ordered my unbound pack last week and I got notification that it's on its way here. I went with the black and white, mainly because it looks so darn cool. In addition, I got the phone holder in black as well as 4 pods. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to use these, but once again, I'll let you know what they're like and how they fit into the pack once I get them. Shout out to Emily Leonard for putting me onto these pods. They look like a really good idea. Do you remember my conversation with the owner of Outdoor Vitals, Taysom Whitaker, a couple of weeks ago? And I told you that I'd be checking out their adaptive layering system? Well, I got a couple of those items as well. I bought one of their hybrid insulation tops, the Ventus hoodie, which looks pretty cool. And I believe they threw in another shirt to wear as well. I can't remember what that was called, but I'll check those out and tell you about them when I get them, hopefully next week. Oh, by the way, I did go down to REI and they didn't have any HMB packs for me to check out. So I trusted Max and trusted the measurement of my back, and I ordered the tall pack from HMG. I can always change it if need be, which is, of course, another benefit of preparing early. I know that it's somewhat ironic for me to say that, but I can't tell you just how much I'm enjoying putting all this stuff together for my hike, as opposed to rushing around a few days before. While I was in REI, I decided to buy the first 4 days of food that I need on trail, and surprise, surprise, I bought 4 lots of biscuits and gravy. 2 from Mountain House, which were my favourites last time, but I also bought 2 from Peak Refuel, as well as 4 dinners from Peak Refuel. I got American Buffalo Goulash, American Buffalo Barbecue Mac and Cheese, Homestyle Chicken and Rice, and the Venison Country Casserole. They all sound so good, and I'm looking forward to trying them out. For those of you who have bought this type of food, it is not cheap, so I may have to budget slightly better while I'm out there, but I wanted a nice, comfortable, less hungry start. I'm also taking some protein bars with me, which I will use, along with some electrolytes as well. Incidentally, the Mountain House meals will last beyond my 100th birthday, in fact my 102nd, which is nice, while the Peak Refuel meals will only make it until I'm about 83. I'm not too sure what that tells me, other than the fact that this stuff lasts a long time. I think that's everything for this week. Once again, thanks for all the support you keep sending me. It really makes a difference. Clearly, my focus isn't quite what I'd imagined it to be, as after I'd recorded the blog, I remembered 2 other things I should have added. First one is that I booked my flight to Atlanta for March the 9th. I actually booked it a couple of days ago, only to find out that they brought the flight forward to some ungodly hour at about 5:30 in the morning. So I cancelled it, then I had to rebook on the same flight. There's that ridiculous early one, as there were no other convenient flights to Atlanta from Tampa from that day in the morning. So I'll be in Atlanta before 8 a.m. It's going to be a long day. The other bit of news on the gear front is that I've gone back to oboes for my boots. I can't remember what they're called, but again, I'll tell you all about them when they turn up. So much for my focus, eh? I'll see you all next week.